Hey guys, it's Chris with chriscantu.com, the red pill on steroids. And so I have Ronin Man on today. I wanted to ask him and pick his brain a little bit and ask him some questions about making the move overseas, breaking free from the financial matrix, from the corporate matrix. Ronin, it's great to have you on, man. And looks like you got a great view out there.
Good. Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, dude, breaking away is a great topic, man. It's a really good topic because, you know, as a dude, as a MGTOW, there's so many things that society just has so many plans for you, you know, just plan after plan. You're going to pay payments on this. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids. You're going to live in this kind of place. You're going to eat at these kind of places. You're going to order these kind of foods. When you go to Starbucks, you're going to sit in these chairs. It's like an endless plan for your life, you know, and like breaking away is necessary. It's absolutely necessary to learn how to say, hey, you know what? I'm not into this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't like that. I'm going to try this new thing, right? So, I mean, breaking away, whether it's breaking away to new countries or breaking away from stupid ideas that were never yours in the first place, you know. Now, breaking away is a great topic, and it's so deep, man. The rabbit hole goes fucking deep on this one.
I think it'd be cool to maybe differentiate travel from actually moving to someplace, and give my own personal testimony. And that when I finally took a trip to Cabo San Lucas for New Year's Eve 2015, I finally said, fuck it, I have to go on a vacation where I sit on a beach somewhere. And it'd be so long, in fact, since probably high school and going down to spring break to get drunk on the beach, that was probably the last time, just purely for fun, purely for myself, not having to do with the work travel, not having to do with attending a conference, which are all good things and don't really count as experiencing the world. And so I can even give my testimony. When I went to Cabo, it changed my whole perspective. When I was able to just feel in a different country, feel a bit more freedom, feel a bit more free, it was life-changing. And I ended up going on that trip and creating my vision for what I'm living out now, and the continuation to go live in another country, not just visit in this commercialized version of travel that we have here in most first world countries, versus living there, versus integrating yourself into the culture, into the language. Give us that perspective on the difference between travel versus like immersing yourself living there.
Right. I'll just say historically, you know, that traveling for new ideas and for new ways of thinking and for changing your life has an old tradition, you know. And, you know, anybody who was an author who wrote books in the old days, you know, this was the only way you could express yourself. It was art or writing, you know. And people would go, they would go to a new place. They would sit in a new place and they would paint, or they would write. They would go into a cabin. They would go up in the mountains away from the city. You know, they would get away from their wife, right? They would get away from their kids. They would go to a new place, and just going there, it's not like you're saying, hey, the mountain is the place to be. I'm never going to leave this place. It's like a change of cultures, of scenes is amazing, like for refreshing your mind and giving you new ideas. And if the place is better, you know what I mean? Then it's like fucking, and if it's cheaper, you know, then it's like 1,000,000 times better for you as a guy, right? You know, but just generally this. So I think the topic of breaking away, I want to start with one idea, which is basically like your mindset as a guy, right? How do you motivate yourself to change? Some of it is like kind of humiliating yourself, right? It's like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Pumping Iron, right? He used to cut his shirts in half, right? So he could see his belly sticking out. And then somebody said, why do you do that? He says, because why don't you wear a shirt, you know? He's like, I want to see my belly. I want to see it out there, ugly. I want every day look down and see this piece of shit belly, you know? And that was what gave him the motivation to say, fuck this shit. I'm going to do this extra set, right? You know, it's like that looking at it, just simply looking at it, not hiding it, right? So when you look at something, right? So I want to say, like, as a guy, you might be thinking, oh man, going to Thailand, or, you know, like coming to the summit, you know, wow, it's a big deal. You got to get that out of your mind, dude. There's millions of girls here. I mean, there's like clueless, like fucking just dopey girls walking around drunk down by my place. You know what I mean? Girls are here. You know what I mean? That should be enough to motivate you. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's like, ooh, you're fucking Marco Polo. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, people go places, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you haven't been, you know, like, you're in for a fucking treat, right? You know, like, this ain't no joke. This is, like, seriously cool shit. There's a reason why, for example, that Thailand right now is Bangkok is the #1 visited city in the world. It's got a lot to offer, right? And that's why I'm here, right? You know, that's the main thing. But, you know, just, you're not fucking Marco Polo guys. Go buy the fucking ticket. Get on Expedia and buy the ticket. Just buy the ticket. That's all you got to do. It's a simple thing. You don't have to swim across the ocean. You don't have to build a boat. You don't have to,
Right.
you know, invent the airplane and the jet engine. You know, oil. You don't have to go out digging down to get oil so it doesn't get mucked up. You know, you just have to buy a ticket and walk on the fucking airplane. You're going to see women on the airplane. You're going to see old people on the airplane. You're going to see babies on the airplane. You know, you'll almost be embarrassed when you realize how easy it is to do. So now, of course, there's other things to think about. You have to, you want to be smart about it. But that's one thing is to get the right mindset, right? And then the next thing is that what you asked about is living somewhere and traveling, right? So if you see a girl, she goes into a fucking nail salon, right? In let's say a 5-star hotel, right? She's sitting there in her fucking nice shoes and she's got her legs all propped up. She's getting her hands done, right? That is you traveling in a 5-star hotel. It's that easy. It's like, it's mindless. It's like traveling is, you don't really, I'm not saying it doesn't have value, but the reason why, this is my take, Chris, I've never heard this before. Okay. I've traveled and lived 50 countries, right? So my belief is that traveling, it's like just kind of like it's almost like a joke that society plays on you. It's fake. It's
right.
Short. It's you're back a slave in a way. It's like they're giving you a small break. It's like you're slaving away on a plantation, and they're saying, "Hey, it's Thanksgiving. You know, come in and have a turkey." Right? You know, it ain't freedom. You know, it ain't. It's like it ain't even.
It's like Total Recall. They're gonna implant the memory into your brain, and you're just gonna pay for that memory, but you're gonna go back to your slave job.
Oh, totally. Oh, big time. Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. No, it ain't real. It ain't any kind of breaking away. Traveling is a joke. Traveling is for women. It's for Instagram. It's for, you know, this kind of thing. When you're spending somebody else's money, you know, that's when you do a lot of traveling, right? You know, like whether it's a corporation that's paying you to go around, or whether it's some girl having a guy pay to go around. A man usually is pretty logical, and he's thinking about how to like improve his life, right? You know, like especially guys on this channel, right? So you're thinking like, what can I do, right? So the thing is when you move overseas, you realize that there's a lot of fucking inside knowledge. There's a lot of like, you know, when you're playing like basketball, I love playing basketball, right? When you got your home court advantage, right? You know what I mean? All the little tricks in the way, you know, the way the rim bounces, you know, the way you know everything, right? You know the crack on the ground, you know, it gets slippery in the rain, you know everything, right? And you can outplay somebody who's better than you because you got a home court advantage, right? You know, so those little tricks is what you learn when you live somewhere, right? So like if somebody comes, like for example, if somebody comes to the summit and meets me, they got 30 years of experience, home court advantage. I can teach you all kinds of shit. I mean, I often talk about having like a kick-ass, humongous breakfast. It's so fucking huge. I eat like a fucking pig, right? I eat like crazy. But at the same time, I can eat a whole huge breakfast. It's so huge for $3 that I'm not even hungry till 2 o'clock. And I wake up at like 6, right? Because I know where to go that's safe and clean. I mean, it doesn't look like it's street food, but it's fucking kick-ass great. Absolutely better than a 5-star hotel food, right? I know these places. I could take people to these places, right? So it's like, one is travel is a joke. Don't be like a girl on Instagram. That's the way you are now.
Right.
You know, you're like a girl on Instagram. You're like, oh, I'm at this fucking place, right?
Yeah,
oh, I'm at this fucking... Yeah, you're taking a selfie. That's what you're doing, right? Until now, right? When you go somewhere, you're actually moving there. You're fucking living there. You're in the situation, right?
Right.
You're sucking it in. You're breathing the fucking life in. You're breathing the experiences. You're breathing the culture in. You know, like if somebody comes to like, say, Denver for like a day, I mean, they don't know shit about Denver. You know what I mean?
Right.
But these are the idiots who go make a blog and talk about Denver, right?
Right.
You know, so stop thinking blogs. Stop thinking Instagram. You're Christopher Columbus. You're fucking Marco Polo. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna learn shit. You're gonna there's gold for you to fucking dig, you know.
Right.
There's gold to be discovered out there, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's like, as a guy who lives in like a first world country where you're basically like, I mean, when I'm at home, man, I just feel like, this is what I feel like, because I feel like everything is set at home.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like as soon as they see me, the way I look, and the car I'm driving,
mm-hmm.
and where I'm living, you know, and the haircut I have, and when they see whatever it is, like degree or whatever, like there's all these things that people have back home. It's really like regulated back home, I think, in the United States, like really like Canada, US, Germany, UK, Australia. It's like fucking, it's like, to me, it's like certificate hell, license hell. Everybody's got a certificate to be a fucking, you know, they got this stupid piece of shit certificate to be a fucking dog poop picker upper.
Right.
And then no one else can do that shit, right?
To breathe. You got your breathing license.
Yeah, you got your license, and then no one else can do it, right? No one else can break into this bullshit, fucking easy to do thing, right? So when you go overseas, you break away from all that. You ain't getting any certificates in Thailand, right? You need to like figure it out. Right? And so it's very good for your brain. It brings you back to a state that you were in, like maybe in junior high, in science class, or in wood shop or metal shop, where you're like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make this thing. I'm gonna do this thing. How can I do it?
Figure it out. Yeah.
Right. And then you're like relying on your buddies, and you're getting the right tools, and you're trying things, and you're going to see what the fruits of your labor are, right? They come out, they're really obvious, right? So
it's like it kicks in your survival instincts again.
Oh, for sure.
Your DNA. And then communication-wise, right? Like communicating with the next tribe over, if they didn't speak your language, like how do you figure that out? How do you live day to day, achieve your objective while you're there? Totally feel what you mean. I was just thinking as you were talking about what you feel back here in the United States, it's like if you go visit Denver, then you just see Denver's version of this made up shopping complexes. You see the same fast food places. So whether you see it in LA or Denver or Texas or wherever you are, it's all kind of the same model to which city you go to versus somewhere totally new, totally different roads, different language. I think is going to be the biggest barrier, but you figure it out. It kind of kicks in your instincts again.
Okay, I can hear your fear about the language. Okay, that's good. Okay, good point. Like when I first went overseas, I went to Sweden, right? And Sweden, they speak English. It's very similar to many things in my background. My family. I knew a lot of things about Scandinavia and shit, right? So it was an easy step for me. They had McDonald's. They had all kinds of things that I was used to, right? And then after that, I started going to different countries, and I ended up in countries where, it was brand new. Like it was really, really brand new, right? Like one place I lived, I had to swim like 2 miles out in the ocean, and I had to catch this one fishing boat in the morning because he would drive by, and I would have money in my pocket, in my bathing suit. And then I would swim out there, and I would hand him the money, and he would hand me a bag of fish, and I would swim back with the bag, and then I would cook it up right over a fire. I had a water buffalo, and I was on this island that didn't have any shops, and
wow.
So yeah, and I picked vegetables, and we got mangoes, and there was coconuts. You climb coconut trees. I've lived that kind of life too. So you really experience all these things, and the thing is though, is you realize like, the shit that you're talking about, like McDonald's and all these chains and stuff, they're not all bad. There is good. They have their place in my life. I mean, you learn to see life totally differently. So you might see me do something, and you might think I'm doing it with the same mindset as someone back home, but actually it's completely different. But it takes a long time to realize you can use the same tools in a new way. So don't be afraid of going to a place that has, like obviously Thailand is very, very different than most countries, but any country, any new place is going to break you out. It's going to wake your shit up. It's going to make you think of new ideas and new things. But I personally think that some places are better than others. And I think that some cities have a time, right? They got a time where it's happening, right? I'll just give you an example. Like in the gold rush up in San Francisco, right? It was fucking happening, man. I wish I could go back to that time. There's guys digging up shit. Some guy found like a 100-pound, like, big piece of gold at the bottom of a waterfall, like and then someone tries to steal it from him, of course, and he has to fight him on, all this shit, that was the time to be in San Francisco, right? And the time to be in Silicon Valley was back in the 70s and 80s, when, Apple, Microsoft, all these companies were forming, right? That was a very happening time to be in Silicon Valley. I've been there recently, and it sucks. It's a regulated, fucking expensive place, very difficult place to start a business. One of the worst, all the fucking labor is super expensive. And again, I'm not dissing the States. I'm not dissing. I'm saying that it's like, if you have unlimited choices, you will see the faults in places. So pick the best, right? Pick the fucking best. And like, I went to Japan when it was the bubble, right? It was also Japan's sexual revolution. There was sex, girls were giving up sex so easy, and they were so hot and so skinny, and it was like no hassles. I was fucking boning so many fucking hot girls, like movie star, every kind of fucking girl, right? And that taught me a lot, right? That time. Now you go to Japan, it's totally different, right? It's an aging society. It's a closed society. It's like business is not good. People are depressed. The taxes are sky high. Regulation, you can't get out of things anymore like you could. People are down. So every place has a time, right? That's the other thing. So I came to Thailand because I think this is Thailand's time. I feel it's very optimistic here now. I feel like investment is coming in from the Chinese. It's coming in from the Japanese. It's coming in from the Europeans, the Americans. Everybody's coming in, and like it's spreading out to Cambodia. And it's really like people are super optimistic here now, and also like people are trying new foods, new restaurants are opening up. The people are like messing around with new ideas. So it's a happening time. It's an optimistic time. And so I'm not saying like Thailand will always be like this. I'm saying right now. That's why I'm here. It's like right now. So be fucking smart when you pick a place. Don't go to like Japan now. It's a completely different place now. It's like, like I think that there's a place doesn't stay the same, just like you won't be the same. Like your age now, and in 20 years, you're going to be a different guy, Right. I might want to do something with you now and something different with you in 20 years, like we might have different, you know what I mean? Like, so you got to look at that. So I say that you will learn no matter what, but if you choose wisely, you get the fucking gold, man. It's like a fucking truck backing up and dropping, just gold covering you, like new ideas and opportunities and optimism and growth, whatever the fuck you want, And so I think that that's the lens I look at now. It took me 30 years to come to those, to come up with those ideas, and I don't even know if I'm expressing them very well. But this is unique Ronin Man ideas here. I'm not copying some fucking YouTube channel here.
Well, no, it's great because you're getting a perspective of someone that's been there, and then it's almost, I think, what a part of MGTOW is about. A good MGTOW principle is how can we look back on our experiences and then kind of give back to those guys that are still searching for those answers. And the more that these walls come down and we're able to talk about how easy it is to jump on a plane and to go somewhere, one guarantee that if you do go to another country, that it will change you in some way. Like that's a guarantee, and maybe you can back me up on that. In some way, shape, or form, it will change you and what you experience there if you give it if you give it enough time, right? If you're not just hopping around in different made up plastic resorts, if you actually get out and experience it with the people. And even my short time visiting Cabo, it was life changing, so I can speak on that. So that's one guaranteed way to change your life. But also, I was going to make a point as we're talking about traveling, and then to your point, you were saying choose wisely. How you said, it's kind of taken you 30 years to come up with this kind of summary of things. What are your thoughts on traveling to find the right place that you would want to live versus maybe gathering all the information and gathering maybe certain things, and maybe what are those things like cost of living, being able to start a business, these aspects, how easy is it to live there? What are these things that guys should maybe look for so that they can make that wise choice? Or do you recommend traveling a couple different places and then saying, okay, I've experienced South America, I've experienced Europe, I've experienced Southeast Asia. Now I can say, okay, this is where I want to move. That's a question that I think a lot of guys may have.
Okay, right. Great question. Okay, how to make that decision, right? Okay, you can do it two ways, right? you can spend 30 years wandering around, you know, like I did, you know, came before the internet, you know, I had fucking no clue what the fuck was going on. Or you can learn from other people, right? So, you know, like there were people before us that invented stuff that we use today, you know. I forget the name of the person, but the guy who invented scuba diving and you know, avoiding the bends and like, you know, the different things that, you know, being killed and having your spine, all
like
these
the compression
nitrogen
and all that, air compression, all that.
Yeah, there was a guy who had a compression chamber in his living room, and he used to get into it, and he had his friends get into it. He was obviously very gregarious because he talked people into getting in there. His wife, they all had like health problems because they would get in there, and then they would try to stay as long as they could, and this and that. They discovered all the laws of how long you should be at this many meters and that many meters, and they set down those rules that every scuba diver uses now, right? You know. And same with you know, with anything, right? Like to even to make plastic, I'm sure people die. Guys burned to death. Guys got poisoned by chemicals, and you know, we have people. There are giants that we're standing on the shoulders of giants right now. You know, like what is a drink that wakes you up? Coffee. How long did it take to discover that? I heard the first tea was invented when there was a tree and the leaves fell into the pond. And it was a hot day, and the Chinese guy went down there and he drank the water, and then he felt very, you know, invigorated from the tea, from the water near the leaves, and he discovered how to make tea. But that was really a random thing and difficult to, you know, like millions of people would have not seen that, right? So the thing is that we have people who led the way, right? So when it comes to traveling overseas and living somewhere, you're really like not very. You're really, I don't think it's really a great way to go, is to go on your own and just wander around. I think you're really smart to pick a mentor, pick somebody who has done that. And so, you know, I would really say, like in this case, like I'm this weird guy who did it. Like my favorite example of this is the first guy who discovered how to do eye surgery. You know, LASIK. Mm-hmm. He stuck a knife into his eye all the way back to until he hit the bone, and then he pulled it out, and then his eye healed up, and he discovered the eye can heal like your skin can heal, right? Right. So he was the first.
I've had LASIK, and they laser off a flap, and then they put the flap back on, but they tell you not to rub it because if you rub it for the next year, the flap could come back off. But after a year, it heals, and now I could rub my eye again.
Right. The guy who discovered that was, I believe he was Russian, and he discovered what's called radiology, I think it was called. The original eye surgery was not using a laser, using a knife. And so he discovered that by sticking a knife into his own eye. So these are the kind of experiences that I've had, basically, right? I've stuck a knife into my own eye and traveled all over the world and figured out a lot of shit. So I would say, like, you're pretty good off to listen to somebody who's done it. I did it because there was no other choice, Chris. I would never do it again. You know, today I would look online for my, I would think about who I am, what I want out of life, and I would look for somebody, a mentor, and I would listen to that guy's advice seriously. You know, this is one thing I really can't stand about like SJWs and stuff right now is like nothing is real anymore. Nothing is true. You know what I mean? Like it's all just your fucking opinion, right? You know, and
feelings. It's all feels now.
Yeah, no, it's not, man. Like the shit that you learn in life is valuable, man. You gotta hold on to that shit. You know, you gotta like write that shit down, right? You know what I mean? And don't forget it and learn from your experiences. Don't do the same thing over and over, right? You know. So I think that, you know, like if you have somebody that has gone there, you know, and has done it, you know, I would say you're very smart to follow his stuff. And then you can, and then also to keep, you know, as I said with my example before of the guy who listened to the sailor, who, I don't know if you saw that episode where the sailor basically, he was an old sailor and he was talking to this young guy and he kept telling him about this beautiful place where the blue sand and the greenness and that. He described this place and it was so beautiful and you have to go to this place. And the young man who was listening to him, to his stories every day, he was infatuated with this old man's story of the blue sky, sand, and all this. And so he had this guy in the story, right? forgive the example, but he had this woman that he loved that he wanted to marry, right? But he decided to say goodbye to her and travel the world to be a sailor to find this one place. And when he finally found it, he came back to his hometown, and he saw his girlfriend, right? He saw his, well, now she's married, right? And she said she still loved him. She said, well, did you find the place? And he's like, oh yeah, I found it. Because, but it didn't mean shit. It didn't mean fucking shit. It was blue fucking sand, you know? And so the thing is, you have to know who you are. You got to listen to yourself. You can't just take someone else's advice. You listen, right? You listen and you learn, right? Because that's the most important thing, is to learn from wisdom from other guys who've gone before. But you also have to remember who the fuck you are, right? So keep it. So what I mean by that is, like, listen to the advice, follow it, but keep your finger on the pulse, and make adjustments as necessary, right? Because no two men are exactly the same. No two periods are the same. No two ages are the same, and so take the advice, try it, 100% copy it. Like, if you're learning karate, you don't just go around and just start swinging your arms in the air like a fucking wild man, right? You actually learn the 18 moves or whatever it is in karate, and you wire them, you master them, right? You master those moves. And then after that, you say, wait a second, what else can I do? Right? What else is out there? MMA. What other moves can I do that aren't in this one rigid system, right? And so that's what I would say is copy, learn, follow, be a great student, and then once you have those moves down, then to go and say, wait a second, I think I have a better idea. I think that can change, that can improve this, I can go on. So that would be my basic mindset for living overseas.
Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, since we have, these online platforms where we can communicate, we can see different people that are, like, you've inspired me, man. Like, your videos, just the knowledge that you've dropped, and I've said this before, but I can't say it enough. And then, they're walking around, the dropping knowledge, dropping red pills. I'm like, man, it looks beautiful out there. Like, maybe I'm missing out on something. And then over time, exposing myself to the videos over and over again, and other guys out there like MGTOW Expat, who does kind of walk around videos and kind of shows, the different, landscapes out there in Cambodia. It really puts it in the palm of your hand to just get that ticket, make those plans and just do it. And, I have waited quite a while, but the excitement and the hero's journey, all the stories are basically man getting out of a box. And now my box is the United States, and to get out of that box and to go somewhere else and to chronicle that journey. I think a lot of men, can see that and relate to that, because it's something that they want to do deep down, but then seeing how to do it and putting that in place. And you're right, again, Ronin, we stand on the shoulders of giants. As you were speaking, I was kind of thinking about Victor Pride, and a guy that had started a blog called Bold and Determined, and he had gone out to China and left the United States, and he was just man in a box in China, writing daily blogs and growing his business and writing books, writing these little ebooks. But following, like, kind of modeling, right? Like, following the path that someone's already laid out there for you in this age. Is so important, and that's very, like, I believe like some of the guiding principles of MGTOW is again to help your fellow man. And so yeah, and maybe speaking on mentorship, because I think I remember in one of your videos, you were talking about this, like, 70-year-old guy that would come around every so often, and you guys would have a group, and it was like it was like a real good group of guys, and it's so important to find mentorship. And honestly, being an introvert, for whatever reason, I've always, I've very rarely seeked out mentors, but we talked about traveling and living in a different country is a guaranteed way to change your life. I think, and to your point, another kind of almost guaranteed way to change your life, if you take action on it, is to find a certain set of mentors, people that have been to where you want to go and can guide you along the way.
Exactly.
So
like that's exactly why I wanted to have the conference where everybody can get together anonymously and help each other. and learn from each other, right? You got to be physical, man. You can't be a fucking dad by the internet. There are no dads by Skype. You can't raise a man by Skype, and you can't raise yourself either, right? You need people looking at you, with you, in your face, you know, who understand you. And there's something about that humans still need. As much as I love online, and I love YouTube, and I love learning online, but at the same time, it's you can't eat online, right? You got to eat in real life, right? You got to put something in your fucking mouth, right? So, you know, that's one thing, and that's so true. That's why getting together is so important, right? And that's why I say, like, come to conference, get together with some guys. We'll have a get together. That's the main thing we're doing, right? You don't have to move anywhere if you don't want to yet. It's a great way to meet people and kind of get a taste of what's going on, you know, like different ideas and different things and different places to go, and also just have a fucking beer or whatever, you know, like, you know what I mean? Just have a good time and laugh your ass off somewhere, right? But get away from the normal shit, right? That's also has its value. It definitely has its value. Right? And it can lead to better things and bigger things too, right? So I say, like, get together, guys, and like whether you get together in your own group or come over here and like get together with us, I'd say get together. The next thing is like what you said about the hero's journey. Hey, these are archetypal stories. These stories are not for women. There is no hero's journey for women.
Right.
The hero's journey is for men, and it's because we need to do that for ourselves. This is an important thing. This is not this is not like, oh, I need to get a fucking brown pair of pants, right? No, this is like a deep, deep, deep need in men to feel that they did something, that they got their teeth into something, that they tried, that they learned, that they grew as a man, right? The Hero's Journey, and Joseph Campbell, one of my favorite authors, you know, he goes through it and he's very listenable. He's a bunch of great books on it. But Joseph Campbell, there's a lot of books on him on YouTube, you know, videos on him you can watch, you know, going to the new place and learning these things. But one of the key parts in that fucking video is he's on that boat and he hears the sirens. Okay, they're not real, but they're calling out to him in the ocean. These beautiful women, and they're like, "Come down here. It's beautiful down here. You can swim with us. It's going to be heaven down here. You can, you know, obviously have sex and all that, right?" The thing is like they were so alluring to him as a man that he knew he could not resist. Okay, you as a MGTOW, this is you. Okay, you cannot resist women when they really come onto you in a very seductive way. So what he had to do is he had himself lashed to the mast, tied with ropes. And so he was begging everybody to untie him, right? But it was certain death when he jumped off the ship in the middle of the ocean. They were they were trying to bring him down to be killed. It was the end of the journey for him if he jumped. So he knew, and also he knew he could not personally, he didn't have the strength to avoid it. So what he did was he tied himself up. He had himself tied up, and he begged them to let him go. He begged and begged and begged, and then finally he passed, and it was over. That was his test, right? So every man has a test. So when you come to Thailand, I'm gonna have to lash you to the fucking mast. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, because there are things out there that are more powerful than you. It's like a heroin addiction or something, right? You go down that road, it's fucking ugly. It's fucking ugly. Fentanyl, all that shit. It's like calling, like, fuck that shit. You need somebody you need to understand yourself, and you need to allow yourself to be lashed to the mast on certain things in life, because you just, as a man, it's very difficult to avoid, right? So never forget that it's not just fun and games. You're doing a serious fucking journey. You're going into places where you won't be able to. You're not the man that can do everything, and neither am I. Sometimes you need to respect nature, and you need to have yourself tied up and say, "I know this is going to be difficult for me, right? I know I'm going to ask you to untie me. You know what I mean? But don't do it. No matter what I say, don't fucking do it, right?" And that's the way. That is part of the journey too. It's all part of the journey. It's that learning to see things, to have wisdom and discipline, and have friends that will tie you up and will let you go when you're done, you know? And then you can become the man that you really want to be. And this is essential stuff in being a man. It's absolutely essential. It goes deeper than anything. This is the shit that makes you smile when you die. You know what I mean? You're like, I did it.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. Ronin, I know we've kept you on here, man. I really appreciate taking some time, and maybe just in closing, you guys that are interested in coming out to the MGTOW Global Summit, if you can just give the viewers out there the email address where they can reach out. And, we're very cautious about the privacy of everyone, and we hold that dearly. So I think everyone, if Ronan, if you could help everyone that wants to attend, how do they take part under your coordination?
Okay. Yeah, the thing is to remember is that we all have different degrees of needing to keep anonymous, right? So you have to respect them. That is a big part of this. You're not coming to get your nails painted, expect the unexpected, right? And number one, we want to protect your anonymity, right? So there will be nothing online about what is going to happen, okay? Mm-hmm. Basically, send me an email, roninmgtow@gmail.com. I'll send you a PayPal invoice. Complete that, and it's $298. You'll be in. And the next thing you want to do is you want to buy your airplane ticket. So look on Expedia, search around different ways, maybe try Skyscanner, try different ones. Skyscanner seems to be pretty good a lot. Try these different discount airline tickets. And then you want to fly into Bangkok. Don't worry about which airport it is. Doesn't matter. They're basically all the same. And so fly into Bangkok, get your round trip ticket.